There are only two cities in Canada that have the distinction of straddling two provinces. There's Flin Flon along the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border, and there's where I am right now, Lloydminster, on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. It runs all along 50th Avenue. Look at this. Now I'm in Alberta, and now I'm in Saskatchewan. And how can I tell? These border markers. 4 of them. 30 meters tall. The city claims they're the biggest in the world. They represent the stakes that were used when the original border survey was done in the early 1900s, and they have 4 themes: oil and gas, agriculture, First Nations and Métis, and the Bar colonists. Those colonists came from the UK and established Lloydminster in 1903. There was no border then. Alberta and Saskatchewan weren't even created until 1905. That was when they decided to put in the provincial boundary line following a key meridian that just happened to run north and south right through the city of Lloydminster. It's created all sorts of quirks and challenges in this fast-growing city. Life in bi-provincial Lloydminster. Our special coverage continues on CBC Morning Live. You could see the growth there in the background. Lloydminster is a vibrant, affordable young city and one of the fastest growing communities in the region. But that doesn't come without some challenges, and especially when you straddle the border between two provinces. In some cases, the challenges are double. Whose responsibility is healthcare? How do you navigate interprovincial trade barriers, as Julia Wong was reporting? At our community event on Wednesday night, we were joined by Mayor Gerald Albers. He's here in his 3rd term as mayor. He's been acclaimed twice, and he talked about the opening of this Cenovus Energy Hub as being a game changer for his community in terms of the economy, the identity, and the future of Lloydminster. We talked about all of that when the mayor stopped by to join us on stage.
Our city is growing, and this has been built for growth with additional items to come in additional phases, from slow pitch fields to commercial retail units, a hotel, and other developments such as the trail system. And that's just all part of it. And we have lots across the road available for sale. We have people moving to our community on a regular basis, and you can see that in the growth in our community.
People are moving to your community.
This
is a fast-moving and fast-growing city. The number you gave a couple of years ago was 2% growth a year, about 700 people a year arriving. Is that still
basically in that 2% range, and it has depended a little bit on the economy and what's going on in our country, because immigration is a federal matter. But we're seeing people coming here able to buy an affordable home. They're able to find jobs. They have spaces in the schools. We have facilities to also provide for people coming to our community.
I was wondering, what do you think is the appeal? Fast growing and one of the youngest cities in terms of median age for your population anywhere in the country. What is the appeal of Lloydminster?
Well, sitting on the border of 2 provinces adds to the dimension of it, as we've talked about on a few different speakers. But I think that the opportunity, entrepreneurial spirit in this community, we've been ranked in the past as the #1 entrepreneurial city or community in Canada, because people could come and start and make a living here and make their start in a business and build a business that have been very successful. And there's a number of them, generation after generation in this community.
There's double the potentially, for the fact that this is a bi-provincial city. But the fact that Lloydminster straddles the 2 provinces, a unique distinction that also poses unique challenges. One is healthcare. We were just talking about it with a panel earlier. You've been very outspoken on the issue. How much does healthcare in your city suffer, do you think, because of the fact you have to deal with 2 provinces?
It's very challenging, and as the panel members that were here before spoke about it, Dr. Grant and Paul Richer, they stated it very clearly. We see when governments change, when ministers are change of ministerial appointments, even within the deputy minister and things like that. So it is an ongoing project that, even though healthcare is not a city matter or a municipal matter, it affects everyone. So it becomes a matter of our concern as City Council. So we spend a fair amount of time discussing healthcare at a provincial level, and also need to engage the federal level, because our healthcare also serves First Nations, and there's also pieces to that puzzle that have to be taken into account.
Economic concerns as well. You have, I don't need to tell you, a border running right through the city. How has Lloydminster then experienced interprovincial trade barriers?
Well, we've had our share of interprovincial trade barriers and still exist. Some we've seen the federal government start to take down from a Canadian Food Inspection Agency requirement. We were having troubles having a sandwich built at our local co-op grocery store and shipped across the border 12 blocks into Saskatchewan. I think we've kind of got that rectified after
this is
a while.
You'll know this story, but this totally captivated me, and it even got the attention of the New York Times. So the co-op with a meat sandwich made on the Alberta side couldn't sell it on the Saskatchewan side because of food regulations and regulatory differences. But you've come up with a solution for that, though, haven't you?
Well, it's been a challenge, but I think we've overcome that one. But there continues to be challenges. And in the professional world, we also see a lot of our professions being dual licensed because of provincial regulations. So as an example, a paramedic that works in Alberta may not work in Saskatchewan because if they do not have a dual license, they cannot practice in Saskatchewan. So this is an ongoing discussion.
So they couldn't actually answer a call that takes them across the border?
They can, and hopefully that our two providers currently have licensed people on both sides. But that's a cost that's incurred, so it costs more to do business in our city in some fashions than a lot of other places. So we're working continuously with the governments of both Saskatchewan and Alberta to try and bring their understanding that they can actually understand how things happen here. Because that border, if I took you over there, it's just out here, it's just like a street. And you go, how can that be? If you went to Ottawa and Gatineau, there's a river. There's definitely a differential, you know that. But here, we're talking a piece of asphalt. So as a young person, when you're driving down the street, all of a sudden, if you're speeding, the ticket might change on either side because that's a provincial matter, but it's the same city. So we see so many different challenges that way each and every day. Our RCMP, as an example, need to know 2 sets of provincial statutes for traffic from that very sample. So it affects ourselves. We belong to 2 associations, SUMA in Saskatchewan, representing the urban municipalities there, and Alberta Munis in Alberta. So, we do a lot of duplication, and I got to give credit to the staff at City Hall. They deal with that each and every day, dealing with the provincial governments.
It is timely that pipeline politics is back in our headlines today, just as we arrive in Lloydminster. And with me this morning, Kyle Bax, who's traveled from Calgary, part of our business unit, based there. Energy and oil is part of his specialty, so it's wonderful to have you with us on this day, Kyle, and welcome.
Thank you.
So let's just begin, because the politics of all of this, some provincial reaction. I'm going to bring in a social media post that we got from Saskatchewan's Premier Scott Moe. Saskatchewan stands with Alberta as they take steps to build a new West Coast oil pipeline. This project strengthens Canada's economy, opens new markets, and creates opportunities to advance Canada's national interest. That's Saskatchewan. No support from coastal First Nations. That's over the issue of oil tankers. BC's Premier David Eby, he has called it not a real project, and he said it's incredibly alarming to British Columbians. So anything you want to add to the provincial response thus far? And of course, we await the federal government response.
Yeah, some fiery pipeline politics right off the bat, and we don't even have a name for this pipeline even just yet. The federal government so far has signaled that it's open to taking a look at this. So Energy Minister Tim Hodgson with the federal government, has said that Ottawa is willing to work with the Alberta government and have some dialogue about this project. But in particular, he also laid out his expectations that this pipeline, it would also have to meet, in terms of climate change expectations, Indigenous rights, and also jurisdictions where this pipeline would cross. So not only working with the BC government, but all those communities along the route, which would likely go from the Edmonton area to somewhere on the northwest coast of BC.
Again, somewhere. As you say, it's pretty nebulous at this point. We know the 3 companies that the province hopes to be involved, but beyond that, not much. But there is already talk about impact. We're in Lloydminster. You're going to introduce us to Lloydminster as an oil centre. But what would a pipeline mean for the province and for a community like Lloydminster?
Well, it would likely provide a bit of a boost to oil prices. Oil prices are quite volatile, but it would provide a little bit of a boost, which is what we have seen with the Trans Mountain expansion since it's been completed recently. And you look around, at this arena, and you see the billboards just about everywhere for all the different oil companies companies, big and small in this community. I think I even saw a water fountain that had a little sponsorship on it. And so far, this community and industry has been resilient despite seeing low oil prices.
The trucks begin rolling every morning, headed for the oil fields. Oil production is at a record high and growing. But here, in the community known as the heavy oil capital of Canada, there is no boom or bust, just steady work for the dozens of oil field service companies.
We're at like a nice steady even keel, which is nicer to see than just the highs and lows that we have gone through in the past.
Others feeling lukewarm. Oil production is up, but prices are soft, leading to less investment and spending.
Goes in fits and starts, it seems like, and that consistent growth that you can count on year over year doesn't really seem to be there just yet. There's still a lot of uncertainty.
That feeling is reflected throughout the province. The energy industry remains profitable, but drilling activity is tepid.
We're seeing global economic activity starting to slow down. The U.S. looks like it's slowing down, and that's having an impact on oil prices and other areas of the Alberta economy as well.
In Lloydminster, the oil patch is the economic heartbeat of the community, the biggest driver of growth. For businesses here, one of the biggest concerns is finding enough workers and attracting the next generation to consider the oil patch for their future. The industry isn't booming, but it's stable. Fewer ups and downs could help entice more people to the sector.
I'm hoping that will just invite people to want to learn the production of oils, the driving, all of that kind of stuff.
And one obstacle for attracting truck drivers in particular is just the rising cost of getting your Class 1 license. These days it's around $13,000, Heather. About a decade ago it was closer to $2,500. So quite a big jump that we've seen.
Let's talk money in another respect. Alberta has said it's going to spend $14 million on the new pipeline now, with the expectation some private company, as yet unnamed, would be joining in. How realistic is that?
Well, you really wonder if that amount is going to increase. The experts I've talked to say that's not going to be enough, just because of how complex these types of projects are. Even a route that goes, let's say, from Edmonton to the West Coast, you're crossing many rivers, you're going through the mountains, and we've seen past pipeline projects, these major export projects, that when they get submitted to regulators, there are dozens and dozens of boxes filled with documents. It has to be a very detailed plan. And so the experts I've spoken with say it could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's before you even buy any pipe or equipment. It's just to get a detailed plan to the regulators and submit that application.
Okay, Kyle, it's great to have you here today. If there's any further reaction this morning, we'll talk with you about it and, of course, continue to follow the energy story here in Lloydminster with Kyle Bax here with me, and appreciate it very much. So we also want to tell you that Kyle's been doing some analysis for us, and if you want to read anything further on all of that, Kyle has a piece online, which is on our website or on the CBC News app. As Kyle mentioned, heavy oil capital, border city. And there's another aspect that makes this city unique. It's one of the youngest communities in the country.
Our city is growing. We have people moving to our community on a regular basis.
That's Lloydminster's Mayor, Gerald Albers, and faces from our community event. We had a special event here in the Cenovus Energy Hub on Wednesday night, and their faces really help tell the story, don't they? So do the statistics. Lloydminster's median age is around 36. But that stat splits just like the city. It's a little younger on the Saskatchewan side, a little bit older on the Alberta side. But as a whole, Lloydminster keeps steadily growing by about 2% a year, about 700 people per year.
We're seeing people coming here able to buy an affordable home. They're able to find jobs. They have spaces in the schools. We have facilities.
Affordability is certainly a draw. So is opportunity. Lloydminster celebrates the community's entrepreneurial spirit. There are about 2,000 registered business, which is about 1 for every 15 people who live here. So when people here talk about the border, they usually don't mean the 49th parallel. Of course, the trade war is a concern. Canola is another key industry here, agriculture broadly, a big driver. Lloydminster is also a living example of another challenge for our country, interprovincial trade barriers. And this morning, Julia Wong shows us how people here find themselves right in the middle of it all.
At this job site, how this house is built depends on where these workers are building it.
We have to have everybody really thinking about where they are.
That's the reality of doing business in and around Lloydminster, the provincial border marked by giant red posts, a constant reminder there are two masters to serve. This company has to work with two sets of permitting processes and regulations, as well as different provincial inspectors. A worker forgetting which side of the province they are on can lead to mistakes, which can hurt the bottom line.
If you just don't realize you've driven a meter further, then you're not thinking about the proper rules and regulations, and then it just costs the business money.
There are extra steps, too, for realtors who have to be licensed in both provinces to work.
You could choose one side or the other, but of course that would severely limit your capabilities to perform for a buyer or seller.
To work with this ambulance service in Lloydminster, paramedics also have to be dual licensed. And because of healthcare agreements between the two provinces, Saskatchewan paramedics must follow Alberta patient protocols when working in the city.
It's frustrating for us, and it's just not a very simplistic way of dealing with emergency medicine on a regular basis.
People in Lloydminster are the microcosm of this kind of silliness that we're dealing with across the country.
As Canada seeks to build a stronger domestic economy, these barriers need to come down, this expert says. She says a central database of provincial regulations could go a long way.
Let's figure out how to get each of the provinces to put all of its regulatory data into a central database that can be compared with all of the other provinces and territories.
It's a report from Julia Wong, who mentioned the issues for paramedic services. Well, that's just one of many healthcare challenges the people of Lloydminster have to deal with because they fall within the jurisdiction of two provinces. That was made abundantly clear to me on Wednesday night during a live community event that we hosted here in the Cenovus Energy Hub. And this is one of the audience exchanges from that night. Who's carrying a Saskatchewan health card? Who's carrying an Alberta health card? So interesting to me. And who here thinks Lloydminster doesn't get the health care it deserves because of the fact that you're part of two provinces and part of two different systems?
I think it's wonderful. A new place for all the young kids to play hockey and good for the community.
I think it's really cool, and it's very nice, especially for like a super small city to have such like a really cool thing.
It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's well deserved.
Those are just some of the people we met on Wednesday night at the big community grand opening celebration for the Cenovus Energy Hub here in Lloydminster. That's our location this morning. It's going to be hockey central for the region with 3 ice surfaces, and it's home now to the Junior A Bobcats, the Junior B Bandits, and the Lakeland Rustlers. That's a local college women's team. The reporter who's bringing us their story today is new to CBC News. She's from Marwayne, to the northwest of here. She moved to Calgary to study journalism and earned her Bachelor of Communication Journalism from Mount Royal University. She had been working as a reporter at the Town and Country Today in Athabasca until CBC News embarked on a major expansion project, and now she is our CBC Lloydminster reporter. Let's welcome Lexi Freehill. Good morning, Lexi.
Morning, Heather.
Great to see you this morning. Thank you for sharing in our special broadcast. A great way to kick off your time with us. You've been in the job for a few weeks now. How are things going?
Things are going really great. Definitely hit the ground running in September. Got a few stories knocked out. It's not every bureau's experience that they get to welcome the national network in their first month of work. So it's been exciting. It's been a whirlwind, but I can't complain at all.
You probably also didn't realize you don't just have to walk and talk. You have to skate and speak at the same time. We've been able to showcase your skating prowess because you've been playing hockey pretty much all your life, right?
Yes, that's true. I started skating at the ripe age of 3, played 5 years of hockey with the boys in my hometown in Marwayne, and then I moved actually to play in Lloyd with the Blazers for my last 5 years with the girls.
So that's the background, and it's the perfect background to bring us the report that Lexi's done for us this morning. Lexi has the story of the Lakeland Rustlers. I mentioned this is their new home ice. Last season, they won their very first provincial title, and they're the toast not just of campus, but of this entire community.
Go! Yeah, just being able to play at a collegiate level in my hometown in front of my family and making, our community proud for all they've done for us. So that's what makes our game so great.
Asha Petrie is warming up for another season. She's a forward with the Lakeland Rustlers. It's a women's hockey team in Lloydminster that's had to fight to hit the ice.
We got called trailer trash and stuff because we were in a C-Can because it was our first year in the league. We didn't have the fancy jerseys. We were in practice, bright yellow practice jerseys, our first in our inaugural season.
That was in 2021. The pandemic had put a stop to organized sports, and there was no money for a women's college program. The coach remembers how frustrated the young athletes were.
Yeah, those were tough years for sure, and really tough for that age group of players. It was a grind for sure, and so to be able to put a team together through those years, and it's been a lot of work and effort.
But people in this tight-knit border town were in their corner. They banded together to make sure they could hit the ice.
Now, they're returning the favor, visiting local businesses and handing out season tickets. They've been giving back in other ways, too. From hockey camps to prepping meals, car washes to pitching in at the gas station.
Our customers would pull up to the pump, our members, and wouldn't probably have been expecting one of the Rustlers hockey team to be there to help out, and they just were tickled. Especially some of our older members just love getting to chat with them.
And it's not just here.
All right, thanks, girls.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Across town, another sponsor is feeling the love. This local oil and gas service company has been providing gear for the team for years. Heath McDonald believes in the power of hockey.
Anytime you're in a competitive team sport, you get a better person at the end. In my eyes, team sports teach you how to work with other people. If you haven't exposed yourself in a team environment, we can pick that out as soon as you walk through the door.
Really, really proud of your effort.
Back at the rink, the players are suiting up for another season. This time, in a brand new place, the $100 million Synovus Energy Hub. And they're riding high on momentum. They finished last year's season as the champions of the Alberta Colleges Athletic Conference.
We hope to kind of do the same thing as last year and get a repeat championship, but we have a really strong team this year, lots of good rookies, and then we have a lot of skill and talent, and most of all, we have a lot of heart.
A win would be nice, but no matter what, they're champions in this community. Lexi Freehill, CBC News, Lloydminster.
Enjoyed that tremendously, Lexi. And it's so interesting what the Rustlers did in terms of bringing the community on board. That's become something of a template for other women's college teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan Rogan, the athletic director for Lakeland College, told me that Medicine Hat has used parts of the community funding model to come into the league a few years ago. Grand Prairie is also considering implementing some of these community funding initiatives in order to get a team into the ACAC in the upcoming years. And Rogan also said that beyond that, other institutions are asking informal questions, just about the model to see if it could work for them.
Rustlers in action at the big community event Wednesday night. They were leading a hockey skills competition for the public. They're going to be on their new home ice tonight. It's the home opener, Lexi. Set that up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Puck drops here at 7 p.m. on the Lloyd and District Co-op ice just on the other side of the rink here. They're going to have a barbecue at 5 p.m. Community is welcome to come out and eat. And Alan Rogan himself and a few of the other senior faculty members from Lakeland will be there, as will hopefully a lot of the community. Coach Mann told me that they've had great turnout since they started year one. So Lloyd, come out and pack the seats for the wrestlers tonight.
I think it's going to be a really dynamic game because they're playing the team they beat last March to win the title, aren't they, Lexi? The Red Deer Polytechnic Queens, I think, is the team name, and they beat them 7-1 back in March. So that rivalry will be fresh as they start the season. Okay, just show off. Make me feel badly because I'm not a skater. I want to just admire your hockey skills and your skating skill as I tell people all about things. Thank you, Lexi, so much for that. And Lexi has another report next hour. But as she leaves us for just a second to show off this beautiful new ice surface, and this is the main arena in the Cenovus Energy Hub, let me tell you that if you're watching in Alberta, in the Lloydminster area, as I mentioned, Lexi's our new CBC Lloydminster Bureau reporter, and her email contact anytime for story ideas, Lexi, Lexi, .freehill@cbc.ca. This is CBC Morning Live.
Time to dye my hair, time to change my clothes, time to wrap my arms around somebody I don't know. I took it step by step to a favorite part where I feel better than I did before you broke my heart. Yeah, now I'm at my best, guess that's just the expect. Ooh.
That's music from Jordan Pollard, a song she wrote called X Effect. You know, it hasn't even been released yet, so the crowd at our community event on Wednesday night got a bit of an exclusive. And Jordan performed a number of her songs for us on Wednesday night. You're getting a little bit of an exclusive. Look at this. I think that Lexi's crosscuts have chewed up the ice so well they had to bring in the Zamboni to get this ice just so after Lexi has been showcasing her hockey and skating skills for us. Just a little digression. Let's come back to Jordan for just a moment. She grew up on a farm just northeast of Lloydminster. She started performing for her parents in the kitchen at the age of 2. She's 26 now. She has 2 albums already to her credit, and her sights firmly set on the Grand Ole Opry. Here's some of my conversation with a star in the making.
I think music is a lot like farming in the sense that you're gambling. You don't really know what's going to come out of it. And from that, and then also just the sense of community. I find it can be very competitive, but once you find your people and find the people that are going to support you, it's only up from there.
In terms of community, you give back to the community a lot. You were named Emerging Artist of the Year from the Saskatchewan Country Music Association, but you were also last year, and maybe you know that, Jordan was Humanitarian of the Year. That's tremendous to acknowledge the work that you do for charities. Tell everybody a little bit about some of the things in which you're involved.
I have performed at charity events since I was younger, but I've also planned a lot of charity events. Most recently, I planned an event during Canadian Country Musical Week in Kelowna for the Boys and Girls Club. So we were giving back to homeless youth in the Okanagan. So we had some of my musical friends come out and play at a singer-songwriters round, and we got to raise money for that. And I've also done some events here in Lloyd. We planned a songwriters round also here for the Bikes for Breakfast, which is a breakfast program for kids in schools. So we raised money for that, as well as Stand Against Sexual Assault in Calgary.
And so to contribute in that way, why do you do so much community charity work? And what is it meant to be acknowledged for that contribution back?
It means the world to me. I think it's so important to help each other out. Not all of us can give 100% or have 100% all the time. So if we stick together as a community, we can all thrive.
You mentioned a little bit about the big dream, Grand Ole Opry. That'd be fantastic to see you there one day, but map it out for us. What's next for Jordan Pollard?
I'm writing lots, performing lots. I have a big show at Cook County Saloon in Edmonton this weekend, which is really exciting. I just love performing. That's my number one love, and as long as I get to do that for the rest of my life, I'm happy.